What's up, guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 1979 Toyota pickup long bed dually. Up front is a 2.2 liter inline 4, and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Toyota pickup because this is a very odd one. If you can tell by looking at it, it's extended. It has this weird little cap on the back. However, this is technically a factory Toyota, and so I'm excited to get into the history of this vehicle, share my thoughts with you, and overall just take a really cool look at a piece of Toyota pickup history. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's talk about the history of this truck. What is this thing? Well, we have to go back to the 1960s. In the 1960s, the United States government imposed a 25% tax on all light pickup trucks coming into the States. Now, there's a whole reason behind this. It was due to poultry sales in Europe. It's a whole thing. I have a video. Please go check that one out. It'll explain the whole situation. But basically, it was expensive to import trucks. So a way around this was to build most of the truck in Japan and then finish it off here in the United States, because then it was just imported as a chassis and it could skirt around the 25% tax. So that's what Toyota did. And in 1971, they hired Atlas Fabricators in Long Beach, California, to put the beds onto the trucks and finish them up. This became a quick success, and so trucks were sent here without beds, without backs on them, to then receive their beds in Long Beach, California. It was such a success that Toyota then ended up buying Atlas Fabrications and renamed it Long Beach Fabricators, which is what this truck was built by. Now, a big benefit of this is that you could kind of toss on whatever bed and rear end you wanted once the trucks were stateside. And so that's why this is a long bed dually, and we'll talk about that later on. But let's get back to that 20R under the hood. It's a carbureted inline 4 and is known as one of the most reliable, one of the most stout Toyota motors ever built. This particular one has had a Weber carburetor recently put onto it, which makes it such a breeze to drive, such a lovely vehicle, and that's a big upgrade that people tend to do to the 20Rs. And like I said, it is one of the most reliable engines to come out of Toyota, which already sets the bar so high. Like I said, paired to it is a 5-speed manual, and I emphasize 5-speed because most of the trucks of this era that I've driven have been 4 speeds. So that extra highway gear really helps in this situation, especially for a vehicle like this that would most likely pull or tow something. Last but not least about the drivetrain, it is rear-wheel drive. However, it does have the dually rear end, and this is known as the death axle. Now, yes, that does sound like an awesome 80s hairband, but the death axle was actually pretty serious. If you take a look, it has dually tires, but it's actually one single rim on the back. The issue with this is that the rim was built out of 2 different rims that were welded together, and what would happen in the 70s and 80s is if you overloaded your truck bed, it could crack the welds holding the 2 rims together, but since you have 2 tires on it, you wouldn't really know, and then you're driving down the road and you see your wheels cooking off into the distance without you attached to them. So they were recalled in the 1980s and 1990s. However, some people didn't change them out. So that's what we're seeing here today. How does it feel to drive the long bed Toyota pickup? It's weird. It doesn't drive like the other Toyotas. Now, all of the controls are the same, visibility, that sort of thing, but you are so much longer. The Long Beach Fabricators actually extended this chassis, and so it's a lot bouncier, and it seems to make bumps a bigger deal than they really are. So where I'm used to driving these cute little Toyota pickups, this one actually has some haunches on her, baby, and you most certainly feel that. It's got a little bit of pep to it, but you could tell that this is bigger than this engine was supposed to tug. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have two gauges really. Off to the left is my temperature, fuel, and warning lights. And off to the right is my speedometer. No tachometer, even though this was a factory manual truck, I don't get any tach. On the steering wheel, I just get two horn buttons. No airbag, nothing. On the steering column, however, this did come with aftermarket cruise control that was installed by the Long Beach Fabricators. However, time has not been good, and it could use a blue chew or two. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent and the gauge dimmer switch. And moving on to the door, latch to get in and out and crank for the window. That's it. Moving into the center, we do have our heating controls, and this was a factory AC truck. So we have heat and AC. Lovely to see that. A little cubby off to the right, ashtray to the bottom left, and a radio to the bottom right that got not only AM, but FM. Really living lavish here in the Toyota pickup. Two vents down below, which look like they would have maybe been dealer installed. I don't have hard evidence on this or not. Nothing on the floor besides the shifter. The shifter is nice and tall. However, that means there are no factory cup holders here in the 79 pickup long bed. So by default, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. Then we gotta talk about the seats. The seats are nice and bouncy and comfy. This particular one was slightly mistreated, whoever owned it previously, and so it leans back quite a bit, which gives you an obscenely relaxed driving position. But they are very bouncy and comfy and certainly help out with that bigger suspension fitted to the dually. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a backseat review because they are very interesting. All right, so we're in the back of the 1979 Toyota pickup long bed dually. Couple of things to note. This was all done by the Long Beach Fabricators. So this is a fiberglass, I guess, second half, and you could see up here, this is a ridge because this is where the normal cab would end. They would just cut it and tack this extra bit on, make some headliner match, and call it a day. Now, I do have sliding opening windows back here, but the biggest thing is that I have back seats. Now, in modern trucks, it's almost hard to find trucks without back seats. That was the exact opposite in the 1970s. Almost no trucks had back seats, especially in this size. So to add this, to have back seats in a pickup truck is just, it wasn't really a thing in that era, which is super, super cool, at least for this size in a Toyota pickup. Later on, we got trucks like the Nissan Hardbody that had little jump seats, and the S10 that had little jump seats, and Toyota pickups slowly started to get bigger and bigger and offered little jump seats and then bigger back seats and whatnot. But this was done before that, so that is very, very cool to see. The seat itself is pretty comfortable. It is pretty cushy and bouncy. However, it's not spacious at all. I mean, with the seat how it is, I can barely jam one leg behind it. It's not spacious, it's not enjoyable, but it's just freaking cool. And down below me, they actually had to extend the drive shaft and the chassis to fit this extra cab onto it. And part of it is actually made out of plywood for the flooring back here. It's not sheet metal, it's plywood, and that's how the Long Beach Fabricators did it back in '79. Pretty cool to see. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a look at the long bed, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so we're on the back of the dually long bed Toyota pickup from 1979, and here's a close-up shot of that death axle we were talking about. As you can see, it's technically one rim, two tires. Pretty interesting. Not really a whole lot to talk about back here because long beds were offered pretty regularly. This cab section that we were just sitting in, that's kind of the odd part, but very, very cool to see as well. A Lina bed liner, very basic stuff. No tie downs. Tie down technology and frequency has really gone up in the last couple of years. But for the tailgate, you pull it here, then it'll come down. So very cool old style operation of the tailgates. Pull it back up. Boom clip. Boom clip. There we go. So very, very cool to see around the back of the Toyota pickup from 1979 that has been worked over by the Long Beach Fabricators. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this has been resprayed actually very recently. This is the most sun that this paint job has seen so far, and the graphics are unoriginal, but I love the simplicity and the style of the 79 pickup. I think it's iconic. I think it aged really well. Whenever I see one of these, I just want to either shake its hand or smooch it on the cheek. I really, really love older Toyota pickups. They just really do something for me. And of course now seeing one with this ridiculous back seat sort of pasted onto the back, very, very cool. However, with all of this being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the 1979 Toyota pickup long bed dually? Well, this experience has been so cool. I've really enjoyed diving into the history of the Long Beach Fabricators and Toyota pickups as a whole. It's interesting how legislation from the government can shape the vehicles that we drive every day or shape history as a whole. Now, the Long Beach Fabricators in the 1980s ended up just being fully absorbed into Toyota and just became a part of Toyota manufacturing, but here in 79, they were still kind of their own thing, just owned by Toyota. And their techniques are interesting. A fiberglass rear seating area. They used wood in parts of the construction underneath the body. They extended the frame and didn't do a whole great job doing it. This does feel somewhat slapped together when looking at the mechanics, but this is how trucks got into our country. This is what they had to do back in the 70s. And so looking at this car as a piece of automotive history is just the coolest thing in the world. I might not know much, but I know that this thing is friggin' cool. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Matt and Al for letting me take out their Toyota pickup dually long bed. This was so unique. I was so excited to do the research on this video. Matt and Al have their own YouTube channel called Wisco Shenanigans. Please go check them out. They're always building, buying, and modifying some cool old car. And they're always doing fun stuff with them too. I've reviewed, I lost track at this point, how many cars from them, but they are a huge asset to the channel. They are good friends of the channel, and I appreciate them very, very much. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.